morning, everybody. It's the Desert Viking, and I'm doing a follow-up video to the What's Wrong With You video that I posted last night. So this is the next morning. This is probably going to be a lot shorter than normal. I don't normally push as much content as I have been lately, but my mind's been on overdrive. Anyhow, one of the, we'll call it, one of my known issues is that my brain has a million things going on at once, and holding a conversation, sometimes I lose track of my original points and I go off into the weeds. So when I'm writing, I can keep that kind of on point because then I can go back and reread what I did and bring the conclusions back to something that's logical and flows better. When I'm speaking, not so much. And last night, I think I had a point that I wanted to make, and I believe when I go back over what I said, I think that I made the point, but it's very muddled and buried under a bunch of side conversations. And so I wanted to just follow up and clarify the what's wrong with you portion of what I talked about, because as expected, there were key things that were latched onto that had nothing to do with the message that I was trying to convey. Mainly, the main conclusion was that, you can be the common denominator in your failed relationships. And I said, but that doesn't mean there's necessarily anything wrong. And that's the thing I knew people would hone in on. Because if you are the common denominator, then of course something's wrong with you. And a lot of times that's true. And like I said in the first video, you have to own your stuff. You have to own where you went wrong. You have to identify those pieces and correct those. And I have. And in my last, just to reiterate, that the two main things that I have to focus on was, number one, my physical appearance had degraded and she lost desire, which is nothing wrong with that. I will point that out again. When you're with somebody romantically, the difference between a romantic partner and a normal friend is that you want to have sex with the romantic partner, and your friends you're not supposed to. So, if your partner lets themselves go, or that I got sick and I just got lazy from that, it's understandable. And I've said that since day one, but that was number one. Number two is I emote too much, or I need to be more stoic in how I approach problems, and it is just a thing. You cannot open up to your partner as a man about everything. It's like a bank account. You get so much in that bank account, and every time you emote a problem, it withdraws just a little bit, and eventually that bank account runs out. So you have to be careful what you emote, because they want to see you as a man, that you can lead your house. And that means if something's bothering you, you have to just deal with it, take care of it, solve the problem. Don't make it their problem. Now, I'm not here to say that's good or bad. We are taught that you're supposed to be able to open up about everything. That is most definitely not been my experience. And that's an experience shared by a great many people. That's a very common, when they talk about relationship coaches, they'll talk a little bit about that. It's like, as a guy, you gotta handle your stuff. So I know that those were the two major things, and the first one, especially with the physical appearance, that kills attraction. And when your desire is gone and the attraction's gone, all of the little things will be used as the actual excuse, even though that's not the real deal. And if you have attraction going for you, they will make a million excuses to keep you around and work on things. And that works for both men and women. I'm not saying that that's a female trait. That's, if your wife's hot and she's crazy, you're going to put up with a little bit because she's hot. And if the guy's really good looking, he's going to get a lot of extra chances to correct his misaligned behaviors. And if you're not very good looking, or if you've let yourself go, you're not going to get any chance. Especially today, where we have the little device in our pocket with all of the people that want to have sex with us, trying to get our attention. That this is the, as they call it, the infidelity generating machine. It really is. So you know, you got to own your stuff. And then I say, but what's wrong with you? And then I said, nothing. So let me talk a little. That's the part I care about talking about the most. Look, most of the things, I try for all the things I talk about, have some type of statistics or numbers to back those up. And people will still combat those anyway. That's why I like statistics, because those are raw numbers, right? In America, or in the West in general, if you're a man and you are average height, which is 5'9", you have a very difficult time in romantic relationships. That is unequivocally a fact. That is based off dating apps. The first filter that gets put in there is 6 foot or more taller on the filters. Okay. So that brings us, and so another side conversation is dating apps versus real life. Well, over half of us meet our partners online. So therefore, dating apps are real life. For most of us, for the majority of people, we're meeting our partners online. And so that is that experience. That's the real experience. And unequivocally, as a statistic, average guys are invisible on dating apps. They don't exist. They are zeros. They don't exist. Unequivocally a fact. You can argue that until until your face turns blue. Statistics on every dating app back that up. That 80% of men are deemed zeros, unattractive. They're not even considered. Okay. So that ties into what's wrong with you. Well, if you're a guy and you're born 5'9", what's wrong with you? Nothing. You didn't do anything. There's no behavior that you can correct for being born 5'9". There's not. But even the thing is, like, having height is not the golden key. I'm 6'2". That doesn't mean anything. It gets me past one hurdle, but there's a bunch of hurdles you have to get by. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with me? Here's the bottom line. I don't want to make this a long video. Here's the bottom line, what I was trying to allude to in that video last night. If you're taking care of all of the things that you can actually take care of, and so what is that? Well, number one, get in the gym. Get muscles, lose body fat, okay? If you have higher than 18% body fat as a guy, you still have a lot of work to do. Go back to the gym. And that's really step one. That's square one. That's the most important thing. And you have total control over that, because that's discipline enough to go work out, discipline to not put bad food in your mouth, discipline to fast when you need to fast. That's all entirely on you. No one else makes those decisions for you. And you can complain about genetics and this and that, and sometimes that's true, but those are just excuses. You have control over that. So if you're a guy, you got to get in the gym. You got to get your muscles. You got to lose your body fat. You have to be around 18% or less body fat to be noticed. That's where numbers show you, okay? Now, you've done that. You've got a useful college degree, all right? So a useful college degree is something in STEM or accounting or something that actually generates value. You don't have a degree in creative writing, which is useless. Okay, and you've got your career on point. You're able to support yourself. You have your own property. You have your own house. Okay, so now you've done that. Maybe you're going back to school to get a better degree in a field that's useful. All right, cool. You're doing those things. You've made a moral decision to stay on the right path in terms of how you behave. All right, yeah, and I talked about when I was younger, I did some things I'm not super proud of. We all have. But I made a conscious choice probably about, 10, 15 years ago to stop doing those things. I was serious. I wanted a family. You got to be serious. You got to get out of the band. You got to stop doing stupid guy things. I did those. All right, so you're making the moral choice to be a good person. All right, cool. You've done that. What's left? if you have your body on point, you got your money on point, you can support yourself, you can travel when you want, you're not worried about that kind of thing. You've got your education locked down. You own your own property. You're trying to be a good person. What's left? And this is where it gets beyond you, right? What's wrong with you? In that case, nothing. There's nothing wrong with you if you're born 5'9" as a man. You did not do anything. That doesn't mean that when you go and try to ask someone out, they're not going to reject you, or that you're invisible on dating apps. Most men are invisible on dating apps. Statistical fact. You cannot argue with that. Statistical fact. Most men are invisible on dating apps. Don't use them. I've tried to use them to meet new friends. I've actually met a couple people lately that are I would consider good friends, but for the vast majority, like, I'm invisible on there too. So it's not like I'm some 10. I know I'm not. I know what I am, and that's fine. I have a guy I know a few guys at the gym, but one guy, his actual name is Chad, which is funny, and he thinks it's funny too. But he's a 10. He's in his mid-30s, super good-looking guy, super jacked, drives an Aston Martin. He showed us his dating apps, and yes, there's a definite difference between normal guys and guys like him. Like, he's got a list of women weekly, and he doesn't have to put any work in. Okay, so if you're not at that point, to me, it's like you're dumping a ton of energy into something that is fruitless. You're not going to get anything out of it. That's just today's world. That doesn't mean give up on life. There's a billion other things. Look up a guy named Aaron Cleary. He's written a couple books. One of them is the Book of Numbers. Very excellent book. It's on Amazon. The Book of Numbers. I like him because he's an economist. He's an economist. And he breaks things down into numbers that you cannot. These are statistical facts, the odds of finding things, and so forth. Pick that book up. But he also has The Menu, and The Menu is written specifically for people who want to be in relationships and can't. But it shows you all the other things you can do in life besides chase after something that you can't have. It's another excellent book. Third book I'd recommend: The Land of the Losers. That was a book written by a guy, he's my age, who couldn't, he struggled because he was nice guy, and nice guy gets nowhere. And so he ended up moving over to Asia, and he got married and had a family because the culture's different over there. They value what he brought to the table. Over in the West, the things that are valued aren't very substantial. They're just not. No one can argue with that statement. You can't do it. You can say, well, not everyone's like that. That's true, but if I go to a casino to gamble, I'm not putting all my money on one number on the roulette wheel, hoping that number is going to come up when, however many other slots. The odds of that happening are slim to none. I bet with the averages. Okay, and a lot of the things that I've been dinged for, the big one, you're an introvert. I don't like that you don't socialize a lot. I get that. That's a huge, right? That is a severe handicap for me, and I know that. Dating coaches will tell you when you put up dating profiles. There's for a guy, there's like 4 pictures you need to put up. Okay, the first one is you need a picture of yourself smiling. Okay, that shows that you're friendly. Number 1. Number 2, it shows them your teeth. It lets them be able to see that you have all your teeth. That's the whole point of that, and that they're white. They're fake white. You bleach your teeth. Number 2 picture that people want to see is you doing something sporty or athletic, preferably without a shirt on, to show that you have muscles. So these are all flags you're waving in your dating profile. I have muscles. See, look at my body fat content. They want to see that. The number 3 most important picture is that you have a picture of yourself with friends doing something, some activity, because women want to see that you have a social life, and if you don't, that to them is a huge no. They don't want guys that aren't social. If you're not social, you have a choice. This is the choice that I've had to make all my life. This is something I've heard. This is a constant. So this is one of the common denominators. You either have to go be social, And I try to be social. And for me, being social is finding people who have like interests. Very, very difficult. Or number two, you just accept the fact that you are who you are and there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to be a super social party animal. Even when I was playing music on stage, even when I was pro wrestling, I was on a stage performing, but I wasn't socializing. I was performing, and then I wanted to go home. I did not enjoy sitting there in a bar or in a club. It has never been my thing. There's nothing wrong with that. I am in the middle, and politically, and in the West, for most people, if you are not a Republican or a Democrat or whatever the equivalent is in your country, you are a bad person. To me, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm in the middle because I accept that either side has good ideas and either side has really bad ideas and do stupid things. I also think that politics is mostly theater, a lot like pro wrestling. So I don't pick a side because those sides are, it's moronic to follow that, to do whatever that party says, even if it's bad, and then pretend that it's always good. That's just not, that's not me. And because of that, I take a lot of crap from both sides. It makes you very, very unpopular to not be on a political side. It really does. And the person that left, she was a progressive liberal. And I'm a moderate, leaning more towards libertarianism, if anything, but I don't adhere to any political party. I will vote for whoever I feel is the best candidate. The last person I voted for was Dr. Joe. She had the psychology doctorate. I thought she was the best candidate for us because she actually knew her stuff, very well educated. I trusted that. So, it's not that I hate women. I will vote for women if I think that they're the best choice, right? But when you're with a progressive liberal, or if you're with an extreme conservative Republican, and you don't fully agree with what they're saying, they'll get mad. And they instantly won't like you. And that's the state of our country right now. Like, if you're not in my tribe, you are a bad person. All of our problems are because of you. I have been blamed for all of our problems so many times because I didn't vote for Hillary, or I didn't vote for Trump, or I didn't vote for whoever, because I mostly try to stay out of politics, and I'm down the middle. I tried my best to be down the middle, and people don't like that. Okay, religion. I don't bring up religion a lot because, to me, religion is a personal choice. That upsets people because people want to know what tribe you're in, what religious tribe you're in. It's no one's business but my own and God's. But, hey, people get mad. What's wrong with you? I don't think there's anything wrong with any of those things. But finding people like that is very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. So I'm not even talking about genetically being born short, because I'm tall. But if you're born short, you're playing at a disadvantage. But there's just other things like these things. These are constants that I face off in my life. If I'm not and socially, if I'm not social, even if I can find someone who accepts that, if their friends don't accept that, that's another thing. Like their friends have to want to sleep with you too in the West. And if their friends aren't attracted to you, then they're going to look at that and go, well, I'm obviously settling for something less than I could. I'm not being rewarded socially with status. Goodbye. Okay, what's wrong with you? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with someone who prefers to stay at home. There's nothing wrong with someone who's regimented. That's another one. You're too boring because you're regimented. Well, I got that from the military, and that's discipline, and that's how I have gotten to be where I am in life, is through that discipline and through that regimen. But people like spontaneity, and that's great. If that's what you want, man, do it. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with me because I'm not those things. But those are the things I hear most about. And and again, I think those are just miscellaneous. Those are like little nits that they're using because it's more socially acceptable to say, I didn't like him because he wasn't social. And everyone go, oh, I understand, totally, yeah. When the reality is it's more of the get into the gym and get your muscles up. But there's going to be a litany of things. You've done everything you can do. It's no longer your problem. It's no longer your problem. if you've got all your stuff on point, you've actually addressed the actual issues, and it's still not working for you, it's nothing wrong with you. That's just the world you live in. The world we live in is messed up. And some people say it's not even messed up. It's just, it is what it is. We've regressed back to animals. We've regressed back to our beginnings. And our beginnings were like this as well. Very few men had the opportunity to procreate. We come from like 25% of the gene seed, meaning 25% of men historically have procreated, and 75% of men did not have that chance. And up until recently, in the 1800s, a lot of men died virgins. So this is not new stuff. This is the way it is. We are taught and we are brought up to believe certain things that you find out later are not true, and that's I think is what throws everyone off. You're not given the real rules of life. You kind of have to figure them out on your own, and especially with more and more since the 70s and 80s, men being removed from families, boys aren't taught how to be men. Boys aren't taught what the real rules are because they're raised by their mother, who isn't going to tell them the truth, or doesn't know. They live in a different world, and they tell you their world, and in their world there's someone for everyone, because that's true for women. That is largely true. There's usually multiple guys who are willing to wife them up, and so to them, of course, there's someone for everyone, right? But until you've been on the other end of the coin, you know that that's not true. And I'll conclude with this one. I don't remember her name, or his name, excuse me. There was a woman who transitioned into a man who ended up self-deleting because being a man was too hard. And it's an awful story. You can look it up on YouTube. They do a whole interview with that person. It's like a whole series. And they talk about their transition from a woman to a man, and how it goes from being really easy to, oh my God, what did I get myself into? Feeling their heart break because people cross the sidewalk because they don't want to go be near them because they're afraid. You're a man. It's hard to make friends as a man. When you're a woman, it's easy. And they say that. It's like, this was so easy as a woman, I could make friends anywhere. Now as a man, people are like, that's welcome to manhood, right? That's what we deal with 24/7. It is not an easy road to walk. And a lot of people just don't get it because they don't walk it and they don't know. What's wrong with you? Take care of what you can take care of. Don't worry about the things you can't take care of. Don't worry about things out of your control. That was what I was trying to get into last night. And I kind of did that, and I got sidetracked, and I wanted to double underline that this morning. So thank you for the 2-part series on what's wrong with you. I appreciate you tuning in and listening. So until next time, take care.